In today's video, we'll be talking about the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system includes the primary sex organs and the secondary sex organs. So here, when we talk of the primary sex organ, the ovaries are considered as the primary sex organ, whereas the fallopian tube, the uterus, vagina, external genitalia, and the mammary glands are the secondary sex organs. As you already know, the primary sex organs will be responsible for the production of the gametes, female gamete, which is ova, and also it will be producing certain hormones. The secondary sex organs, on the contrary, are not involved in the process of making of the gametes, but they bring about the fertilization, facilitate fertilization. So the female reproductive system as male reproductive system is classified as primary sex organ and secondary sex organ. So here today we'll be talking about the primary sex organ, that is ovaries. In a human female, there are two ovaries. That means a pair of ovary is present. And this pair of ovary is located in the pelvic region, and it is also known as female gonad. So this is located in the pelvic region, one on either side. When we talk about the structure, shape and size, each of the ovary over here, which is located on either side of the pelvic region, is almond-shaped structure. It is almond-shaped structure. It is a small structure, approximately 2 to 4 centimeter long and 2 centimeter wide. So it's a small structure and it is present in a depression of the pelvic region, which is known as ovarian fossa. Ovarian fossa is the depression in which in the pelvic region in which each of the ovary in either side is fitted. Now these ovaries are held in place in the pelvic region by the ligaments, and those ligaments are known as ovarian ligaments. These ligaments actually help the ovary to remain fixed at a place. Now, a girl, when she is born, a girl nearly consists of approximately 1 to 2 million eggs. The eggs are not formed later during the life cycle of a girl, and instead, out of the 1 or 2 million eggs with which the girl is born, one ova or one follicle gets mature and form the ova. So not new eggs are developed, but it is a stock which is already present over there, and due to and at every month as the cycle goes on, one of the egg formation occurs in the ovaries. Now these ovarian ligaments, as I told, helps the ovary to remain fixed at a place. When we talk of the structure of the ovary, the anatomy of the ovary, each ovary is surrounded by a thin layer. So when we talk of the anatomy of the ovary, it's an oval structure or oval-shaped structure. It is having an outer covering of epithelium, which is a cuboidal epithelium. So the cuboidal epithelium lines the ovary. It is also called as germinal epithelium. So the ovary is surrounded by a thin layer which is known as cuboidal epithelium or the germinal epithelium. This epithelium encloses the region which is known as ovarian stroma. So this entire structure inside is known as ovarian stroma. And this ovarian stroma is divided again into two distinct regions. The outer region is cortex and the inner is medulla. So the ovarian stroma is divided into two zones, outer cortex region and inner medulla. When we study further, we find that the cortex region has certain rounded structures Now, these rounded structures are actually immature follicles. So, these are follicles. And these follicles are immature. When we say immature follicles, that means there is an immature egg present over here surrounded by the cells. And as the process takes place of the maturation of the eggs, these follicles which are immature changes into Graafian follicles, releasing the egg. And when the egg is released, the follicle changes into corpus luteum. That we will be studying during the process of oogenesis. So this is only explaining about the anatomy of the ovary. So here when we talk, this is the follicular immature follicle, and it includes, it inside is present the immature egg. So here we label it as cortex region. This is the cortex region. And we also call it as, let me write peripheral cortex. This is the peripheral cortex region, outer side. So peripheral cortex region, that means it consists of the follicles which are immature and which will later turn into Graafian follicles, releasing the egg. Inside of this is the medulla region. So here when we see, this region is the medulla region inside. And this medullary region, medulla, this is inner medulla, and the medulla consists of nerve fibers. It is highly rich in nerve fibers and also the blood vessels. So that when we study the structure of the ovary, we find that the ovary is lined by a cuboidal epithelium, and this cuboidal epithelium is also known as the germinal epithelium. Then it encloses an entire area which is known as ovarian stroma. This ovarian stroma is divided into two zones very clearly. That is the outer cortex, which we also call it as peripheral cortex, and the inner medulla. The peripheral cortex will be having the immature follicles. These immature follicles will undergo the change and will form the Graafian follicle. When the Graafian follicle, which is also the mature follicle, when it is formed, it releases the eggs. And when the egg is released, this Graafian follicle degenerates to form the corpus luteum. The inner region, which is known as the medulla, is highly rich in nerve fibers and blood vessels. So this is the internal structure of the ovary. When we talk of the functions of the ovary, the primary function, as it is the primary sex organ, the main function of the ovary is the formation of the ova or the female oocyte. This female gamete is formed in the ovary, whereas the second important function is the production or the formation of hormones. Two major hormones which are produced by the ovary are estrogen and progesterone. So let me write over here, if the function of the ovary when we are talking, function of ovary, it is formation of ova and also the release or production of hormones. Apart from estrogen and progesterone, it also releases certain hormones, but the major is estrogen and the other one is progesterone. Estrogen is important for the menstrual cycle, that is the formation of the ova and all, whereas progesterone is responsible for the maintenance of the pregnancy after fertilization. The role of estrogen and progesterone and other things we'll be studying subsequently when we'll be going through the process of formation of the ova and also the fertilization process. But this brief introduction of the primary sex organ, that is the ovary, enables us to understand that what is the location of the follicles inside and also the region which is having the nerve fibers and the blood vessels. Thank you.